Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another edition, broadcast of Chatting with the Rev. Glad to be with you again. We hope each and every one of you had a wonderful weekend and that you enjoyed some event or some gathering between family and friends. And we hope that you had a wonderful 2-day, 3-day weekend. And now here we are back to the grind for many of us. Good afternoon to my wife, Lady T, Teresa Jeanette Scott. God bless you. Good afternoon to Mark Mars. God bless you for being with us today. And for others who will be coming on, we see that there may be 4 people peeping in and being with us at this moment. You know, they come in. Karen Hill, God bless you, dear, for dropping by to join us this afternoon. Wendy Key, God bless you for dropping by. Before we get into the topic for this afternoon, I want to preface it by reminding us about some of the things that are happening in this nation right now. As you know, on Capitol Hill, many of the nominee candidates for the various positions of cabinet members have been offered up by Donald Trump. Many of his selections are being chosen as we speak. They're standing before confirmation hearings, both committee-wise and the joint and united and the full congressional body. I wanted to speak about 3 in particular very quickly, remind you about 2, and then a third who's kind of brought in their position, their statement, their ideas to the public. The first, as we mentioned before last week on Friday, Tom Price, who's been suggested to be our next Secretary of Health and Human Services. He already has indicated that it's going to be a hard time for those who need Medicaid, those who are on Medicaid, and other entitlement programs. There's going to be a lot of adjustment, a lot of changes within those programs. If he's nominated, and he's confirmed, rather, he's already been nominated, but if he's confirmed by the full Senate, because that's who's responsible for confirming the presidential nominees for the various cabinet positions from Secretary of State right on down the line. And so as he stands before the committee that is going to the Judicial Committee, which recommends the individuals to the full Senate body, his position is that Medicaid has to be altered and other entitlement programs. Other entitlement programs include Social Security, Medicare, veterans compensation, student loans. All of these are entitlement programs. Workers' compensation are all a part of the entitlements. There's quite a few others. And one of them is Medicaid and CHIP. The CHIP program is the health program for children. That these entitlement programs will be affected, will be changed, will be altered. You know, they're trying to repeal Obamacare, totally eradicated by at least 2020. There will be no such thing as Obamacare anymore. And so the nominee for the Office of Health and Human Services has said that this administration will tackle changing Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, other entitlement programs that impact the lives of virtually every American. If you touch Social Security or raise the age of Social Security from 65 to 68, which many of them are proposing, this is going to impact not just us who are senior citizens now, but those young people that are coming behind us. In fact, if they do it the way they would like to do it, there's not going to be any money in the Social Security coffers. It'll be broke by the time our children and our grandchildren become adults and are senior citizens. There will be no more Social Security. Certainly not the Social Security as we know it today. Then we have Betty DeVos, who's being offered up as the Secretary of Education by Donald Trump and those that surround him. She's the nominee. She too is under the confirmation here in the confirmation hearings, and she doesn't even know. First of all, she has no background in education. She's a billionaire businesswoman. That's her background. And any kind of connection she has with education at all has been through private schools, charter schools, and vouchers. She knows very little about the public school system, which most students in this nation are a part of. When they asked her about IDEA, which is a federally funded program that helps those who have developmental challenges and physical challenges in school, and even mental challenges for that matter, to incorporate them within the public school system, she didn't know anything about it. In fact, she said, in response to one of the senators asking her what would they do about the IDEA program, she said she would leave it up to the states. And Senator Menendez reminded her that this program is not a state program. It's a federal program initiated by, funded by, and supported by the federal government. I'm going to tell you the truth. People with physical, developmental, and mental disabilities, as well as others, are really in trouble in terms of what they plan on doing, particularly for those who have special needs. We already talked about Medicaid. Who do you think is going to be impacted the most by that? The poor and those who have challenges and abilities. Who do you think is going to be impacted by the Social Security changes? It'll be those who are senior citizens, and ironically those who are coming behind them that will become senior citizens in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I'd venture to say that everyone that's on this line right now will be 65 in the next 10, 20, 30, or 40 years. Whatever they do now will impact what will be the case in the future, as well as the present. Student loans. They're going to change the way student loans are distributed. They're going to change the way Medicaid is distributed. Instead of a matching fund way that they have been doing it over the years, certainly during Obama's time in office, they're now going to have it in block grants. They're going to give each state X amount of money to do whatever they choose to do in terms of health and how they'll distribute it. And once it's gone, there will be no more federal aid to that particular state. Right now, it's matching funds. Whatever the state has to put into the coffers, the federal government matches that fund. What they're proposing is that it be a block grant fund, which means they give you X amount of dollars. Once those dollars are gone, there is no more money from the federal government. You have to figure it out for yourself, each and every one of the 50 states and all of those persons that are impacted by it. 73 million people are impacted by Medicaid. 100 million people and more are impacted by Social Security / Medicare. This is a serious situation. And then the Attorney General chimed in as it relates to people who have challenged abilities. This is what the Attorney General said. I'm going to read it as he stated. He says, this is the person who's being offered up. He has not been elected yet. He has not been confirmed yet. Senator Sessions. He's being offered up as the next Attorney General. Senator Sessions says this. that disabled children are to blame for the decline in civility in the public schools. So children are acting up, in other words, because they now they're including children with disabilities, children with challenged abilities into the mainstream of public school life. Good afternoon, Geneva. Can you imagine that? One of the cabinet members, Tom Price, says that Medicaid, Medicare, and other entitlement programs will be changed drastically and, for the most part, be given into the hands of the states. Betty DeVos, who's been offered up as the Department of Education Secretary, didn't even know one of the major programs that help children with challenged abilities integrate within the public school. One of the main programs, the IDEA program. She thought it was something that the states could do. And it's a federal program. Now you have the Attorney General, the chief officer, if he becomes that, the chief officer of the United States of America, saying that he believes that the decline in civility, discipline, part of it is because of the inclusion of children with challenged abilities, children with disabilities. I'm going to tell you the truth of all the people that are going to be impacted, affected by this administration. If the people that are being suggested to become cabinet members, will be people with physical, developmental, and mental challenges. We are going to be the most hit by, hurt by, impacted by, and affected in a negative way by the policies and the ideas of the people in this administration. You know that the Republican majority in Congress already endorses many of these changes themselves. So if you have the White House and the cabinet members agreeing with the Republican Party to do it, there's a good chance it's going to get done. They already said that, in spite of all of the uproar within the community for Senator Sessions to become the next Attorney General, it looks like he's going to be the next Attorney General. They've already predicted Tom Price is going to be the next Secretary of Health and Human Services. They've already said that there was a big fight and that people don't really want her. Betty DeVos will be the next Secretary of Education. The Republicans have enough votes. So that's why when you look at this whole situation, dear hearts, we got to look not just at the White House. We have to look at Capitol Hill too. Everybody's protesting Donald Trump. And that's okay if that's what you want to do. But as you're marching up and down outside of the walls of the White House, keep in mind, good afternoon, Apostle Timmons. As you're marching up and down protesting Donald Trump, don't forget up the street a bit is the Capitol building, where the senators and the representatives, the House of Representative members, are deciding the destiny of each and every one of us. People are protesting, and we have the right to protest. We are a free nation that has the right to protest, to be up in arms towards anybody. But I'm saying, if you want to be real about it, we better be just as diligent about responding to the actions of the Congress as we're looking to the hills. We better look to the Capitol Hill as well. And keep pressure on both the executive body and the legislative body. And the judicial body, for that matter. This whole thing about immigration is about ready to be put into the hands of the United States Supreme Court. What were those 8 members? Because we don't have the 9. We're still waiting for the 9th member to be confirmed or appointed or presented. We know who it's going to be. Trump has already made a suggestion about who that ninth jurist will be, but they're not sitting there now. They haven't been confirmed. So the 8 ones that will be looking at this policy on immigration, whether you call it a pause, whether you call it a ban, whatever you call it, it's disallowing immigrants to come in and disallowing immigrants to leave out the country without their being scrutinized by the administration. So it's going to end up in the United States Supreme Court. Now we need to write our jurist. Go on Google. We Google everything else. We Google the most nonsensical things. Let's start Googling things that's going to impact our lives and the lives of our children, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren, and really all of posterity. Good afternoon, Apostle Simpson. That's what we need to do. So that's what I was, I wanted to keep you abreast, and we're going to keep you abreast every week. Every time that we come on the air, we're going to let you know the latest in the Trump saga. And the latest in the Republican majority saga. Because I keep my eyes on both. I keep my eyes on the White House, and I keep my eyes on Capitol Hill. Because both will dictate what will happen to every citizen in this nation. And keep in mind, 2018, remember it, write it down, put it on your calendar, put it on in your phone. Let there be an alarm system that you remember it, that in November of 2018, next year, all 435 congresspersons will be up for re-election, and 25 senators will be up for re-election out of the 100 senators that there are. Find out whether in your state a senator will be up for re-election. And you look at their record before you start pulling that lever, before you push that button, before you pull the curtain. You look at their record first. See whether their record, their congressional record, aligns itself with what you believe and what you think is important to your perpetuating the things that will help your life become better. Because all 435 don't even have to look up whether your congressman or your congressperson will be up for re-election. I'm telling you now, your congressperson will be up for re-election because every congressperson is up for re-election. All 435 members. I think we need to get rid of some of those ones that have been in there 25, 35, 45, 55 years. You have congressmen that have been in there that long. If they're not corrupted, they certainly are not up to date in what needs to be done today. They're still living in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, living off the laurels of yesterday. Most Americans didn't even know the great things they did in years gone by. What are you doing today? We need to start looking at this thing. If we, in 2018, if the Republicans still are in the majority, we don't have nobody to blame but ourselves. And to be honest with you, we don't have nobody to blame but ourselves for the results of 2016. Keep in mind, Congress is not determined by Electoral College. It's direct voting of the people that determines who sits in the Senate and who sits in the House of Representatives. It's the people, directly, that determines that. So we talk about, Trump and the Electoral College. Well, I don't think much change would have happened because you put everybody back in the Republican. The Republicans are still in the majority, both in the House and the Senate. And that has nothing to do with Electoral College. It has nothing to do with that. That's our voting that did that. That's our voting. Thank you, Apostle. Apostle Timmons says, hey, that's right. That's our voting. We put them back in. Oh, I didn't. Well, not enough of you didn't. Not enough of us didn't. I'm going to include myself too because I voted. I didn't vote for any of those. But it wasn't enough people that voted to the contrary that would have knocked some of them out of the position they were in. Everybody's right back in the same position. Senate still has a majority. House of Representatives still have a majority. Throughout all of Obama's time, we have talked about how we want to change the Congress. Nothing was done. Went right back in. Everybody went right back in office. Since 2000, we were talking about getting rid of the Electoral College because of Bush being elected as president in 2000 over Al Gore. Al Gore won the popular vote. Bush won the Electoral College vote. Bush became president. And from that point on, people have been talking about getting rid of the Electoral College. 16 years later, Donald Trump got in the same way George Bush got in, through the Electoral College. Hillary won the popular vote. Donald Trump won the Electoral College. What's different than 2016 and 2000? People act like this thing is a phenomenon, this Electoral College thing. Bush won that way. And most of us that are alive now were alive then. We swore up and down. John Lewis, the congressman from Georgia, who was a civil rights leader, boycotted the inauguration of George Bush too, just like he did Donald Trump. But what happens after that? What happens after the march? What happens after the protests? What happens after the boycotts? Nothing. Everything goes back to the status quo. It's a travesty. It's a tragedy. How we just don't follow up. If we would have followed up on that, there would have been no Donald Trump. Hillary would have won because she won the popular vote. But because we dropped the ball, now we up in arms because Donald Trump, he's an illegitimate. He's not an illegitimate anything. Because if he was a fluke, we could at least have won the Senate House back. If he was a fluke, we could have at least won the Congress back. The House of Representatives. He won, and so did the Republicans win again, the House and the Senate. They're still in the majority. So it ain't about no Putin and all that kind of stuff. Let's be real about it. If it was only about Trump, we could have done something in those two cases. The House of Representatives and the Senate. That could have changed. But we dropped the ball there, and we dropped the ball with Trump. How? Because we didn't do what we were supposed to do. And that's got rid of the Electoral College. We have another opportunity to do it before 2020. Will we do it? I don't hear nobody even talking about that. If they do, they're talking about it sideways. You know how people we do in discussion. We don't really do nothing. Just in discussion. Facebook discussion. Facebook this. Facebook that. Social media, Twitter, and all that. That don't mean nothing. That's just people's opinion, sharing one with another. And just like I learned at Temple University, one person's opinion no better than another person's opinion. You got to do something. Donald Trump mainly got in because his folk that believed in him, that held to him, they went out and voted because they knew he didn't have enough votes unless every one of them went out and vote. And I'm going to tell you another secret. Some people that don't even admit they voted for him did vote for him. They still swear up and down, I don't know how he got in. You voted for him. Then we got the group that didn't vote at all. They were some of the leaders of these protest movements. The ones that didn't vote at all. You got to get rid of the Electoral College. You got to put term limits on these congresspersons, both in the Senate and the House of Representatives. This 40 years, 50 years, 100 years, whatever time they want to stay in there. Most of them don't leave until they're dead. You know? It's really a sad situation. What are we going to do now? I hear people talking about, well, you wait till 2020. You better not wait till 2020. You better wait till 2018 and do something in 2018 next year if you really want to affect some kind of real change. And in the meantime, you better get rid of that Electoral College, put pressure on your congresspersons to get rid of the Electoral College, to repeal that. They get ready to repeal Obamacare right off the bat. But ain't nobody saying nothing about repealing the Electoral College. So what 16 years from now, or even 8 years from now, or even 4 years from now, we may elect somebody even worse. I hear people talking about, well, I can't wait till Mike Pence becomes president that Trump is put out through impeachment. Read Mike Pence's history. He was a governor. He was a congressman. That means you can Google his record on your computer. He's an ultra-conservative. If that's what you don't like. The only difference between him and Trump is he's a political insider, which means he knows how to work the crowd. He's not as upfront as Donald Trump is. Same policies, same politics. In some ways, he's even more radical in some areas than Donald Trump. Look at his record. Look at his record. I can, get rid of Trump. You better watch it because Pence is the next one in line. Now, Pence will finesse his way through it all, though. He won't be as obnoxious. He won't be as narcissistic as Trump is. He won't be as egotistical as Trump is, maybe. He'll know how to finesse you. He was a congressman. He's been a governor. He knows how to talk to the people. He knows how to wheel and deal. He knows what to say to make you happy while he's cutting your throat all at the same time. One thing about Trump, I mean, whatever he is, he is. He don't try to hide it, so that's why you're able to approach him in protest. That's why you're able to approach him in opposition, because he tells it what he thinks. These other politicians, they know how to be, they know how to talk to you so that you don't realize what they're really doing to you. Look at the records. We're not in the times of the 1800s and the 1700s and even the early 1900s. We're in the 21st century. And technology, we can find out everything about everybody. Their record, their birth, their grandmother. Was your grandmother a bigot? Was your grandfather part of the Ku Klux Klan? You can find it all out if you take the time to do it. Before you pull that lever, take the time to do it. Good afternoon, Prophet Morgan. God bless you. But we're going to move along because that wasn't our main topic for this afternoon.
Take the time to vote.
Our topic for my wife said take the time to vote. You got to take the time to vote, but you got to be educated when you're voting, which means you got to look at these candidates, see what their records are. They're there. You can find out what the governor of Indiana, which is who Pence is. You can find out what his record is. You can find out what his record was when he was in Congress. You can find out what his record was. What was his voting record? What is his policies? I was looking them up the other day. We'll talk about that another time because I think we're going to have to do it because maybe is a good possibility he will become the next president. Certainly he will be automatically if Trump is impeached because he's the vice president. So we need to look at that man, look at his record. But today we're going to talk about, we're in Black History Month. Naturally, they choose the shortest month of the year and throw in Black History Month. So we're in Black History Month now, the month of February. And so I was saying, what could I do about the month of February in our programs that would tie into the heart of what we're trying to present to you today, which is our nation as a nation and those people who have challenged abilities. And so, my mantra is this, that challenged lives matter too. Challenged lives matter too. And so, as I present some of the heroes of the Black movement, Black history, this is Black History Month, as I present some of the heroes, the heroines, some of the more prominent Black folk in our presentation, I want to do so with in mind, and keep it in mind, I want to present those who also had a physical, developmental, or mental challenge in their lives. So we're going to do that in the next few weeks. We're going to deal with Harriet Tubman today. We're going to deal with someone else today. I'm going to keep it kind of a surprise because I'm going to say where I'm going to present it to you. We're going to deal with Teddy Pendergrass. We're going to deal with Muhammad Ali, Ray Charles, others that have left their imprint upon sports, entertainment. Today we're going to talk about someone who left their imprint in terms of abolition and politics and all of that. We're going to talk about people that have really left their imprint. And yet the greatest imprint they left was how they overcame, how they rose above the conditions of their lives. We all know about Franklin Roosevelt and others, but you'd be surprised which of our folk, this is in Black History Month, our people, African Americans, black folk, who have had to deal with a challenge in life, but dealt with it and has left a great impact upon the world today. The first one I'm going to deal with is Harriet Tubman. Now, Harriet Tubman's real name is Armametta Ross. That's her real name. But we all know her as Harriet Tubman. She was married to a man named John Tubman. Harriet Tubman was born in 1822 in the state of Pennsylvania in the county of Dorchester. She was born a slave. In 1849, she broke away from her being bound to slavery and went to Philadelphia. But she didn't stop there. She didn't allow her own freedom to be the end result of what her ambition and her hopes and her aspirations were. She understood that she had to go back. So Harriet Tubman went back, and the first trip she went back for her family and brought them out of slavery. She had to do it in the dark because of the Fugitive Slave Act that meant that you could return a slave back to his or her master. So she did it in the secrecy of the night. She went back there, got her family, and she wasn't satisfied with just that. This great American hero, heroine, if you will, went back numerous times in the dark, in the midnight hour, and brought over 300 slaves up north to freedom. Harriet Tubman. She was an abolitionist. She was a women's suffragette. During the Civil War, she started out as a cook and a nurse, and eventually she became a spy and a scout. She led an expedition that resulted in 700 slaves being freed. Harriet Tubman. She died of pneumonia in 1913. Harriet Tubman. The Secretary of the Treasury has decided to, in 2016, just last year, they decided to put the image of Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill, which now has the image of Andrew Jackson, one of the presidents of the United States of America. They're going to change that, hopefully, because now in the Republican era, I don't know whether that will carry out, because the Secretary of Treasury is no longer a Democrat. Secretary of Treasury is now a Republican, will be a Republican. But at least we know that it was in the workings in 2016 that she would be the face of the $20 bill. A great honor. Harriet Tubman. But did you know Harriet Tubman also had a physical challenge? She had narcolepsy. Now, narcolepsy is brain damage that causes a disruption in the sleep-awake cycle of a human being. It happened when she was a young girl. There was a slave owner, because you remember she was a slave during that time. There was a slave owner, one of her slave owners, threw a heavy metal object at another slave, and she jumped in the way and it hit her in the head and knocked her out. The damage was so great that it didn't just knock her out and she recovered. She had to endure narcolepsy, dizziness, pain in the head, not being able to sleep properly for the rest of her life. So in spite of and keep in mind, she was a young girl then. So this is before her adventures as a liberating Black Moses, as they called her. Before that, she experienced this condition of narcolepsy as a result of a slave owner's evil, hateful actions. But she didn't let that get her down. She didn't stop that from stifling what her purpose in life was. In spite of all of that, she still led many people out of slavery. 300, she was the conductor for 300 slaves to be liberated. And through her expeditions during the Civil War, 700 more. So you can say 1,000 people were liberated, brought to freedom because of the efforts made by Harriet Tubman, whether directly or indirectly. Challenged lives matter too. Challenged lives have impacted this nation too. Challenged lives have done some great things too. The next person I want to talk about is known as the most famous musical talent in the late 20th century. His name is Stevie Morris, better known, a.k.a. Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder was born in 1950. And because Stevie Wonder was born 6 weeks prematurely, he had contracted a condition in his eye, detached retina and some other issues of his eye. The eye growth was aborted. The eye growth was impeded. And soon after his birth, he was blinded by that condition. But he was also known as a child prodigy. Most of us know some kind of one of the songs he wrote. He's able to play proficiently many instruments, but proficiently he was able to play the keyboard, the piano, the drums, the harmonica. Signed, sealed, delivered. Won an Academy Award. Won 20 Grammy Awards for his music. My Sharia Moore. And many, many more. Tunes that he wrote. And tunes that he made famous by his singing them or his performing them. He won the Distinguished American Medal from President Barack Obama. And many other honors. He won an Academy Award for one of his songs. So his blindness didn't stop him. His blindness did not impede him. His blindness did not turn him around. In fact, I believe in many instances, his blindness maybe catapulted him to the destiny that he ultimately attained. Everybody knows Stevie Wonder. Most of us have sung one of his songs or another. The Key of Life. Famous album that had many songs before it that many of us have sung. Stevie Wonder. Challenged lives do matter. Not just African American challenged lives, that we're talking about that because we're in Black History Month. But we've talked about the others before. Fanny Crosby, Franklin Roosevelt, Stephen Hawking, Paul, Moses, Jacob. But this month we're dealing with persons that are African American who have accomplished great things, but also had to deal with a physical, developmental, or mental challenge. Today we talked about two in particular: Harriet Tubman, Black Moses, liberator of her people during slavery here in America. Was not selfish enough just to free herself, but she helped free her whole family and 300 others, as well as 700 more during the Civil War. Harriet Tubman, who did not allow her narcolepsy, her brain damage that decidedly affects one's ability to sleep, as would normally be the case. But she pressed through it and accomplished great things for a lot of people here in this country. Stevie Wonder truly is a wonder. In the 21st century, he still is performing around the world, still bringing joy and good feelings, and even message pieces that he's written. Oh yes. Next time we meet, which will be on Friday, we'll talk about some others. Teddy Pendergrass, Muhammad Ali, Richard Pryor, so many more. We'll talk about some others that have really, Ray Charles. We'll talk about some others who have really left a mark in this world. Challenged lives do matter because we've accomplished a great many things, not just for ourselves, but for our neighbors, both able-bodied and others who are challenged. Not just Americans, but around the world. These people have been known around the world. They've left their imprint on history. So thank you for joining us. We hope to see you on Friday at 3 o'clock. We'll be here bringing some more of the latest in the Trump saga, as well as some knowledge about we who are African Americans and who also suffer with a challenged ability, who have left some things that the world will appreciate forever. Some of these things they've done, the world will appreciate forever. In spite of what the world may think they are, I want to remind you that we who have challenged abilities, we matter because we've made a difference in this nation and we've made a difference around the world. God bless you. Until the next time, see you real soon. Bye.